Hello and welcome again to the Ryder Review. This is Eric Ryder, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 1995 movie Waterworld. Now, Waterworld was directed by Kevin Reynolds, and it was also a little bit co-directed by Kevin Costner. The running time of the American edition is an hour and is 136 minutes long, I should say. But the director's cut, or the extended edition, is 176 minutes long. It was written by Peter Rader and David Twohy, and also Joss Whedon. And the music score was done by Thomas Newton Howard. And the stars of the movie are Kevin Costner, Dennis Hopper, Jeanne Tripplehorn, Tina Majorino, Michael Jeter, and a very young pre-famed Jack Black. Now, what did I think of this movie? Well, this movie definitely had potential to be an exciting epic adventure based on the possibility that our world could be watered down due to the possibility of our ozone layer going down thanks to global warming. People, bashed this movie badly, probably because they were expecting too much because of the high budget, the long, slow scenes, and the fact that Kevin Costner was playing the same character he's known for playing. Now, I have to admit that, the movie did not deserve to be treated badly. I personally didn't think it should be bashed. It was just kind of a bit heartbreaking. But, just because it didn't deserve to be bashed, however, it didn't actually mean that I actually liked the movie that much either myself. Even the extended director's cut, I still found a lot of holes in the plot, and a lot of questions remained unanswered. And also, I think it's time for Kevin Costner to start, playing a different, diverse variety of roles. I mean, it seems like every movie I see him in, he seems to be playing this drifter, this moody kind of individual, time in and time out. Now, I don't know if he's actually doing this on purpose or not, but I think sometimes, it's time to sort of mix things up a little bit. And I think that's what kind of hurts this movie very much. Alright, on the positive note, I thought that the idea was actually quite original, It centers around a dystopian society where the polar ice caps have completely melted, causing the oceans and the seas to belly up, practically eradicating all of the dry land on Earth, making everything the Earth to be 99.9% entirely of water, and all of the survivors are struggling to survive in this rather hopeless situation. Their only place of reassurance are atolls, which are like built-in islands, kind of like floating contraptions. Kevin Costner's character himself has something called a Timaran, and the bad guys have an oil tanker known simply as Exxon Valdez, which of course we all know is now, well, it's now today called the, well, it used to be called the SR Mediterranean, and then was just simply shortened to the Mediterranean. And there's also a lot of cultural references about Exxon Valdez. I do believe the antagonist, the deacon or one of his henchmen, mentioned something about Old Joe, which is of course in reference to the guy who was behind the whole Exxon Valdez oil spill, Joe Hazelwood. Okay, like I said, I've seen movies that dealt with a dystopian society. I mean, we had the Book of Eli, which dealt with our climate change becoming hot, almost desert-like temperatures because of our ozone layer. And then you had the movie The Road with Viggo Mortensen, which dealt with another dystopian society, an uncertain future about our world turning dark and cold. Here's another cynical movie that deals with our not-so-bright future. But the thing that really drowned the movie the most was the script. I mean, it really fell short. And sometimes it just shows that Hollywood assumes that a great set and an equally stunning performances, a movie of this caliber should stand on those credits alone. Totally not true. I mean, the details were brought in with unsatisfying results, which I will more than gladly elucidate. While they show their means of survival in this landless society that dwells upon them, the concepts really never go into full effect. I mean, when did this happen? What year? There's really no background within the characters. And because of the lack of detail, you know, it becomes to the point where the scenes become drained out, and it becomes so tiring that I eventually end up becoming seasick. And it's a shame. It's also, I found that to be a shame within the characters that, you know, a nameless mariner played by Kevin Costner, who was natural at swimming underwater and may have been the meal tickets to their quest to find dry land, at first was not accepted into these atollers' society. And you know why? Just because he looks physically different. So it just actually goes to show you that the world they live in and the world where we live in are no different. You know, everybody gets chastised because they look different. He was badly chastised because he was a freak, because he had gills behind his ears and he had webbed feet. So, you know, our society and their society have the knack of chastising people just because they have unorthodox traits. And then you have the villains in this story were, of course, a group of marauders who have no motive as to why they are bad to begin with. They're just bad because they want to. There's no motive. It's just they just steal and kill anything that crosses their path. Oh, and they're called the smokers simply because of their obsession with nicotine. Well, if they live in a waterless society, where's the tobacco plant that grows nicotine? And where do they find the paper, since paper comes from trees? And because they live in a watered society, there are no trees. Where did they get the paper? You ask me. So the way I see it, we have unlikable characters on both sides. So we have one group of characters who chastise a man for looking different and for being different. And then you have just a bunch of bad guys being bad guys. Hard to kind of tell who's the lesser of two evils. and top that off with some pop culture preferences, and you have one awkwardly absurd movie. Now, although, you know, the technological stuff sells, the cinematography was actually pretty good. The settings were not bad. The costuming was very good. But I just don't see the necessity of creating an atmosphere over $175 million budget. Sure, at the box office they had something like $255 million in return, but you don't necessarily need an expensive budget to create a good setting. I think some better crafted camera angles could have made the movie a whole lot better and maybe a little more frugal. Performance-wise, I thought they were kind of a bit overcooked. Alright, our main villain in this story, the Deacon, played by Dennis Hopper, he looks like he's having a lot of fun hamming it up and looking like a bad guy, and even spewing off his anti-conservationalism. If the smokers find the dry land first, of course they're going to use it to build a city and for their own evil, corrupt purposes. And he looks like he's having fun just playing the villain. But then again, his shtick starts to eventually dry out, and he fails after a while. You know, it comes to a point where, alright, you're a bad guy, you're evil, you want the land for your own selfish purposes, and you're a band of idiotic marauders. Wonderful, we got you. Whereas Kevin Costner, of course, he lacks the panache and charm as a hero, and it's really hard to determine that his quest to look for dry land was for the atollers or if he's doing it for himself. I mean, he comes across as being not necessarily an anti-hero, but not exactly a guy you want to be friends with. He seems kind of aloof, a loner, rather unfriendly, and not necessarily the nice guy that... Now look, I'm not looking for a cookie cutter hero here, but I do think that maybe a little more tongue-in-cheek could have made this movie at least a little more better, at least a little more friendly, adventure-like. The two standouts in the movie are definitely Jeanne Tripplehorn. She, of course, not only is the love interest, the one-dimensional one interest, she actually plays a strong-willed character who doesn't take orders very easily, and she also seems to come across as being, you know, very independent-minded, and she seems to hold out on her own in a predominantly male cast. The other standout, of course, is Tina Majorino, who is the key to looking for the dry land, since she has a tattoo of dry land mapped around her back. But one of the things I don't understand about her is, why is it that there's like some transcripts written in Asian, when yet she's not Asian, she's Caucasian? And why is it that? Is it because they want ethnic diversity? Because I want to tell you, the rest of the cast seem kind of awkward, that everyone seems to speak with a different accent. Is it because they all swam from one area to the other just to seek refuge on these self-built islands or these atolls? You tell me. That's what kind of was the problem too, because the rest of the supporting cast was pretty much bland. If you want something, just get the better extended version, the director's cut. It's 176 minutes long, and probably more answers will be fulfilled. So that ends my presentation. Thank you very much.